Okay, everybody. I can see that in addition to me, nobody understands blockchain technology. Clearly why you're all here. We're very excited about this panel as we now move from the award season into the substance of what we're trying to do through this festival. I guess I want to start by thanking Oliver Mark, who really put this together. We're grateful to him. The Academy really likes to be at the forefront of what people are doing. And clearly, blockchain technology and SingularDTV are at the forefront, as you will hear. We're lucky to be joined by the co-founders of Singular, Tim Jackson and Zach LeBeau, both right here. And also by Paul Vigna from the Wall Street Journal, who, if like me, you read the Wall Street Journal, and you should, you understand that his writing is at the forefront of all these technological subjects, so we're thrilled to have you here. I mean, this is a time of change. It's a time of change more than any of us who are a little older have ever lived through. And maybe it's the new normal. I mean, for those of you who are younger, it just looks normal, and maybe it'll stay that way. But change is going to be constant. And the ability to deal with change and to build one's career and one's life around constant change is very important. I mean, it seems to me from the briefings I've gotten that blockchain technology is going to be a next huge step in things that are going to change everything we do in various aspects of our business. And what we're here for today, and are grateful to SingularTV for, is giving us an opportunity to be exposed to and start to understand those things. So we prepared a little video that will give you an idea of what the panel is going to talk about, and then the panel will talk about it, and we'll all be enlightened. So thank you guys again for doing this and being here, and let's start by playing the video.
Hi everyone, I'm Zach LeBeau, co-creator and CEO of SingularDTV. In the centralized legacy world, what we call the old world, business structures are known as LLCs and corporations. But in this new world of blockchain technology, Ethereum, and SingularDTV, tokenized ecosystems are the new type of revolutionary business structure. Let's find out more. I remember in 1997, David Bowie, he sold himself. He launched himself on Wall Street. Essentially what he did was he took his music that he made, that he owned, and he tokenized it. All of his music's future royalties he put in the form of bonds that he called Bowie bonds. You can call them tokens as well. So the public could buy a piece of his music. It was a direct investment into him as an artist. And no one had ever done that before. It was groundbreaking. And he raised $55 million doing it. I wanted to do what David Bowie did. I wanted to tokenize my writings, my books, my scripts. And now, 19 years later, we have the tools. We're building the technology. What SingularDTV is building is a completely new type of industry. It's an alternative, an alternative that is transparent, that is uncensorable, that is peer-to-peer, where revenue collection is instantaneous, where middlemen don't exist. No sales agents, no distributors, no lawyers, no intermediaries that end up diminishing an artist's profit potential through creative accounting or through waste and inefficiency. In order to make sure that the most important part of the process wasn't just theory, we had to prove it. We had to tokenize our idea, and we had to launch it to the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, launch! SingularDTV token launches in the air!
Right on.
So we've got 229,000 ether, 274,000 ether.
2 million, 3 million, Jesus.
4.35 million in 3 minutes. 4.48 million, 4 minutes.
5.5 million.
We are less than a million away from the cap.
Got it.
All right, we're approaching we're past 7, we're at 7.1.
It says it.
Yes.
Welcome to the debut of our first 2 applications designed to empower artists and creators, Toket and Launchpad. Toket is our rights management application where you can tokenize your project, onboarding it to the blockchain where it can benefit from the power of decentralized computing. Our Launchpad is a project funding application designed to allow you to tap into this multi-billion-dollar crypto economy and get your project made.
Welcome to Toket, an evolution in entertainment. Create and control your projects with Toket, a new and exciting business structure made possible by blockchain technology is called a tokenized ecosystem. Tokenized ecosystems and tokens give you the ability to manage your intellectual property rights, revenue and royalty flow, as well as connect with your audience in a more meaningful way. All revenue and royalties are embedded in your tokens for your audience to immediately withdraw, or they can use your tokens to watch your movies, listen to your music, play your video games, read your books, and more. Go to Toket now to learn more. Tokenize anything, tokenize everything. Toket.
Up next, we have one of the biggest reasons we put this show together. A boundary-pushing artist, DJ and musician, a crypto-savvy entrepreneur. He's truly one of a kind. Internationally known, he plays over 200 shows a year all over the world. I've been a big fan of his for years. And together, we're going to make history by tokenizing him and launching the Gramatik token. The one and only Gramatik.
Hey, what's up? This is Gramatik. I come from Portorož, which is a town off the Mediterranean coast on the northern border of Italy. I started doing this when I was pretty much in 7th, 8th grade. It would be hard to define my music. If I have to, there would be, I don't know, some sort of a mixture between hip-hop and electronic music and mixed with funk and soul, I guess. For me to release my own music whenever I want to, you know, like not having to deal with any middleman, anything, you know, just release my own music and on my own terms and my own label without not having to talk to anybody about it, you know. I just want to get all that bureaucracy out of the way because it's just fucking annoying. You know? I just want to make music, so.
Gramatik, man, it's so good to have you here.
Nice to be here,
It's
man.
really
Thanks
great.
for having me.
It's like perfect that now we're talking about blockchain tech, decentralized computing, Ethereum, and SingularDTV.
I was really excited when you hit me up and I saw the video that you guys were discussing about Bowie doing that thing on Wall Street, you know, back in the 80s, and it really blew my mind in a way. You know, like I think doing that stuff in the blockchain world would be like even the next level of that, because he gets to be with the people, you know. The core idea of it was great, you know.
Yeah. But the technology wasn't there to actually do something like that and really bring it out to the people.
Yeah, if he was here today, I think he'd be totally down to do it with the blockchain. I'm pretty sure. He'd be like, oh, you guys are doing what I wanted to do in Wall Street, but I couldn't to this extent. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, maybe he'd be sitting right here.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for sure.
Instead of me.
No, come on, man. And it's one of these things too where, I mean, we need to show an example to other artists how to do it.
My whole thing in the beginning was I was tied to some smaller label. I was releasing some stuff on a smaller label that were trying to do it the old school way, and I was really frustrated with that. So I just ended up leaving and putting my entire discography on Pirate Bay and you know, being like, here it is. Posted Pirate Bay links on Facebook before they were being blocked, you know?
Yeah.
And people really liked that approach, and like they were like, you know, I put the links to my entire discography for free on my website and put donate buttons for PayPal on it. So
You have, you know, your art and your philosophy. I mean, that makes a movement right there.
exactly, yeah.
And this is what we're seeing here with this entire blockchain
Yeah,
movement.
I view this as the next level of that, as
Yeah.
like an organized, like more implemented, evolved version of that. You know?
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot, that this movement, this blockchain technology, it's a mindset, man. I mean, it's like decentralized mindset.
Yeah, this sounds really promising if somebody would fund a startup to distribute music and films and any kind of art that's made digitally, you know,
Yeah.
and consumed digitally in a way that would benefit everybody, you know, not just privileged people, you know,
Absolutely.
and people with connections, but everybody that has a voice and a talent, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been waiting for. Like, basically, that's what changed in my mind. I've been like, I hope somebody can do a startup that's actually successful and I can be part of it in some way, you know.
It's great to have you
And
being a part of
here
it.
we are, yeah. I'm really excited about it.
Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Let's blaze some trails.
Oh, yeah.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. Let's see. Let's start with a quick question, and then I'll give you a piece of advice, and then I'll give you a brief overview. So, quick question: how many people have heard the word blockchain? All right. Let's go a little further. Bitcoin, Ethereum, segregated witness. Okay. All right. Just trying to gauge the level of the room. The one piece of advice I would give you is, if you walk out of this room when this is over more confused than you are right now, don't be afraid. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be thrown at you. A lot of it kind of will require you to wrap your head around it and to kind of change your thinking in some ways. And that process takes a while. I can tell you the first time somebody suggested to me that we write about Bitcoin in the Wall Street Journal, I flat out said no. I said, we will not do it. I said, this is a scam, this is some internet thing, it's a bunch of teenagers stealing money, we are not doing it. And it took me a while to understand the concepts and kind of dive down the rabbit hole and figure it out and see the potential behind it. So if this is your first experience with it, just go with it. When people talk about blockchain, really what that is it is a series of concepts that are basically enshrined in computer code. These are really just a series of programs. The interesting thing about it is, if all of it is implemented correctly and it works, it possibly can do some pretty magical things. There are a couple concepts, very core concepts, that I'm just going to try out quickly. The first thing is that this computer program that I'm talking about, it is not run from a central server. You don't buy servers from a company, stick them in a warehouse somewhere, run the program through that, and then let it go. What happens is the program is put out as open source software. Anybody is able to download it onto their own computer and run the software. And what you end up with is, a word that you heard a couple times in that video, is a decentralized network. In other words, there is no one central point from which this computer program runs. That means a lot, actually means a lot of things. First off, it means nobody can shut it down. Second off, it means nobody has control over it. Another central feature is that at the very heart of all these programs, what there really is an open ledger of transactions. Every transaction on these networks is recorded in what has now come to be called the blockchain, in a chronological series. Anybody is welcome to review that history, that transaction history. Anybody can be part of it, anyone can maintain it, can help add to it, but nobody can change it, because an exact copy of that transaction history is on every single computer running the network. What this creates essentially is a timestamp that cannot be altered. So just in terms of, say, copyright, if you wanted to copyright something, and we actually, my co-author and I put our first book on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin's blockchain. We digitized it into a PDF, stuck it in a transaction, and put it in there. And now, for all time, there's a timestamp of that book that exists. If anyone ever challenged us on it, we could go back and say, here it is. We also have US copyright law, which is pretty robust also. It helps us. But it was an example of what you can do. There are a lot of things that can be done with this technology. Everybody is still trying to figure it out. Bitcoin is an application. Ethereum is an application. What these guys are doing is an application. And it is starting to affect a lot of different industries. I have a lot of different reporters on different beats who are now coming up to me, asking me questions about it because their companies are talking about it. So there is a lot to absorb. It is really moving out in a lot of ways. And what you're going to get here today is probably just scratching the surface of what is possible. But let's talk about what is possible. So Kim, Zach, I want to welcome you guys here. And why don't we, where do you want to start?
I'm curious how many people are in television here. Raise your hand if you're in television. Okay, because I was under the impression there was a lot of press here as well. So, okay, cool. That's helpful because we're doing film, we're doing music, we're doing books. So we'll talk more about TV in this conversation.
All right, give us the elevator pitch for SingularDTV. How about that?
So basically what we're doing is we're engaged in building a decentralized entertainment industry. And once you do that, it basically creates a peer-to-peer relationship with the audience in a way that was never possible before. So basically what that means is up till blockchain technology, we've only had separated siloed databases. And the internet has now connected those separate siloed databases, but those siloed databases, they can't talk to each other. So a really basic example is if you're a merchant on Amazon and you've been selling whatever you're selling for 4 or 5 years, you have built a history, a following, reviews, a digital identity. You can't take that to eBay with you if you want to start a shop there. Why? Because there's no data and network convergence on the internet. So you have to start over. Well, what blockchain technology does, it converges data and network in the same space. So now your digital identity you can take wherever you want on the network. It's a self-sovereign identity that you control and own. Facebook doesn't, Amazon doesn't, no corporation does. What we're doing with this entire data and network convergence is we're actually embedding intellectual property into programmable tokens that you control, that you as a filmmaker or producer control. And once you do that, you can manage and control your revenue, your rights, and your royalty flows instantaneously without the need of any intermediaries whatsoever. So this is something that is the grand experiment for us right now, and we're doing this with several different test cases right now from film and television, and one of the most interesting aspects of television is, since the revenue and the royalties, the rights, everything is embedded in the token, if you hold those tokens, you get to benefit from that. So right now, if we like a television show and we go out and we tell our friends and family, whomever, that they need to watch this and they go do that, you don't really receive anything. But if you hold tokens, if you hold part of the IP of that television show, then when you tell people and they go spend time, energy, and money watching that television show, your tokens are going to be filled pro rata with that amount of revenue that's generated. So the exciting thing about this is the more audience, the more revenue, the more value the tokens, the higher the market cap of the tokens. So really, theoretically, you wouldn't need to cancel a television show for any budgetary reasons if there was an audience for it. They would sustain it all throughout its life.
Kim, let's bring you in here because you have a background in media, in the production side in the media industry. Talk to me a little bit about how this is a different business model, and what about this whole process, this technology, this business model, this idea of doing things this way attracted you and wanted to make you get involved in this?
Well, I come from film and worked at studios, and then have had my own independent film production company here in New York. Technology has been an interesting ride for our industry throughout the last, decade or so. Recently, we've seen what's happening with distribution really change the playing field globally for us. And after I sold my last film, I thought, well, that was extremely disappointing, meaning, the critics loved it. We were, revered. We made art. It was at MoMA. It was, we did great. However, where's the money? And that's literally, with the distribution models that we have, is literally where the buck stops, right? So if you are the producers or the creators, you really don't, the revenue model is broken. And it's going to continue to get worse, as we are seeing. So,
Why is it broken? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but why is it broken? What is the sort of incentive structure? Why is this model creating bad incentives that is not allowing good art to get out?
What's happening is if you can't own and control and distribute your IP, the business model do not exist for you to survive. So the technology and the tools that we're building on this technology is an alternative to allow you not only to survive, but to thrive. So it means a lot of people can pivot what they're currently doing and move over to utilizing these tools, which allows you to have an ecosystem whereby you control your IP and you distribute that IP on the decentralized platform. We're building something called Ethervision, which is a platform similar to maybe iTunes, where you can distribute anything you are creating as a creator. If you're a production company, you can have your own shingle, you can keep your brand, and you will just distribute the way you are. The cool thing is that right now, in addition to that model being broke, there's also a lot of backroom accounting that is really inefficient when it comes to rights revenue and royalty. I mean, sometimes you're spending more money to send a $5 check to someone than it's worth, and then you get to, okay, well, the rights are up, it's 15 years or however long the rights you had for a particular project, and if your company's been sold and then sold again, trying to find the rights and organize that is an absolute nightmare. So blockchain technology, like you were explaining with this open ledger, and there's like a stamp and everyone has this information, you can always track where this property is. So SingularDTV has created tools whereby there's an ecosystem where you can own and distribute and also fund your projects.
I think it's interesting because you talk about contracts, and that's a huge part of it, right? I mean, the idea that essentially because this stuff is digitized, it can be moved instantly at extremely low costs. I mean, that's a key part of it to keep in mind. And what happens is if you are an artist and you put something out and somebody wants to pay you, they can pay you directly. They can send money digitally to your wallet. The transaction takes a couple of seconds, really. Assuming things work, assuming we're not having any kind of downtime on the network. But it is essentially a much more direct relationship between the creator and the audience, I think is kind of a key
imagine
point.
if Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and iTunes got married and you decided, okay, I'm going to raise money for my project, right? It's a crowdfunding in a lot of ways in the crypto space. Currently, and Zach usually knows this number better than I do, but I think we're talking about a $300 billion market cap in crypto. So this audience right now that's participating wants entertainment content. So this is an audience that's saying, yeah, I like this filmmaker, I like this television show, I like this producer, I like that actor, and they're doing a show, great, I want to be a patron. It's a brand new way for us sitting in this room to be a patron and participate directly in all of the things we're consuming, which I hate calling what we do content. I don't think it's the right thing. I think it creates a separation in what we're doing as human beings. Blockchain technology is the people's technology. It is now going to connect us in a brand new way, and it's a value exchange. The internet was a way to give us communication, and blockchain is now giving us a way to have value exchange directly with each other. It's going to be a whole new world and very powerful, and it'll be a place where we can all thrive and create together.
Yeah, you mentioned the internet. It's very interesting because the internet, we're now 25 years or so that we've kind of grown up with the internet. You've had a generation of people get used to this technology. And one of the things that was missing from the internet when they first really kind of figured out how to do this as the World Wide Web was an efficient payments mechanism. And it was not a part of it. And I think as much as this technology created a lot of potential and it created a lot of new avenues for people to get things out, it also was missing a couple of pieces. And that created a lot of problems. I mean, in my industry too, in the media industry, we have been eviscerated by the internet, and our business model of selling ads in a physical product has been completely wiped out. And nobody has so far figured out yet how to really solve that problem, except by getting so large that you have the survivor bias of being large and letting the smaller guys die out. My hope for this whole technology is that now these problems that were raised by the internet, you might start having a solution to them. You might start having, in other words, you talk about like full stack. There's a lot of jargon that gets thrown around, but you might start finally having a technology that gives people a sort of full picture of what is possible, a full range of capabilities for what is possible. Zach LeBeau, tech guy.
Well, I think it's important to bring up now, too, the differentiation between cryptocurrency. And you've probably heard that word if you know about blockchain technology. And Bitcoin is really the best case, the best example of what a cryptocurrency is, because it uses this data network convergence mechanism. It encapsulates it in a consensus algorithm. It is truly decentralized money. It's the people's money. It's your money. When you hold Bitcoin, it's yours. It's not the bank's. When you hold your money in the bank, it's theirs. So that really was the first example that showed computer scientists and engineers, wow, there's something here. Let's start to build other applications with this technology. And people tried with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is very simple. It's just been made to be digital currency, to be cryptocurrency. So if you've heard of Ethereum, and I did see some hands go up, Ethereum was built and constructed specifically to build complex applications on top of it. So now Ethereum's mission is to use the consensus algorithm and the data and network convergence so it can do a whole number of things. Everything from building a fraudless voting system to tracking and pushing energy through a grid, for example. So that's
Healthcare, identity, insurance. I mean, we just happen to be applying tools for entertainment, right? Because that's what we know.
and so that's where you might hear the word token every now and then. What basically has happened is coins have been put over in this section right here saying, okay, you're just simply a digital currency. You have no other functions. Well, tokens are digital currency as well, but they have several other functions. So that's the main differentiation. Those other functions, for example, it depends on what you want to program them with. We just happen to be programming tokens with the ability to embed IP and control and manage rights and revenue.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this as an experiment. Let's bring about an alternate history. There's a guy named Matt Weiner who's been in the industry for a long time. He's got an idea for a TV show. It never really went anywhere. He comes to you guys and he says, I have an idea for a TV show. It's called Mad Men. It's about these ad guys in New York in the 50s. How does that show get produced, distributed, and become something on SingularDTV? Run us through, just literally the specifics of how a show is going to be made and produced and distributed.
So we're building development, production, and distribution applications. We're in the phase right now where we're releasing our development applications. So for example, he would go to token.io and he would build a tokenized ecosystem and use our interface to program the tokens of his tokenized ecosystem with the IP that represents his idea, Mad Men. And I don't want to get too much into the production aspect of our applications, but we're releasing an Airbnb of equipment rental, crew hiring services, location scouting, all these things, because we really want this peer-to-peer decentralized production aspect to it too. But really the key is, and where the circuit's closed, is in the distribution aspect. It's a peer-to-peer decentralized distribution portal. It's regionless, it's universal. You don't have to worry about territories anymore because you're in complete control of your rights. So the whole point is to not have these, the whole point is to really to have one unified world international audience.
Which, by the way, includes marketing, right? So a lot of times if you're selling your show to a distributor, they take the marketing, right? So it'll be this traditional marketing that we're used to today, only the difference is you get to choose, right? And you're more in charge of that
Right.
as a creator.
And, our production applications start to roll out in March of 2018, our distribution applications at the end of 2018. But the marketing aspect that you mentioned is really important because basically what our front-end interface does is it connects to the back-end interface of digital marketers, and you get to choose and pick and choose what sort of campaigns you want to run. You're in control of how much you spend, and you're the one receiving the reports, the analytics, and the metrics on that too. So.
Where does the show get broadcast? I mean, where do people physically see it?
Well, it's an application that you basically download into your phone, to your tablets, to your television, to wherever really. And this blockchain technology is very, very young. So I do want to stress that it's extremely experimental. No one's done most of any of this before. So as we move forward,
All of any of it before, really.
right,
Right.
So
It's like
we're
the
just
early
making it up
days.
as we go.
It's like the
basically.
dial-up days of the internet. Remember, there's enough people in the room who remember dial-up days. So it's a little bit like that, right?
But it's interesting. I mean, the dial-up days, you did have YouTube it did start during that time, and it was still a very early thing, and people could see the potential of it. But it took a while, and actually, I don't know if Google still makes a profit off of YouTube, frankly. Yeah, I mean, so do you have do you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 2-year plan? I mean, this space moves extremely fast. Do you have like a 6-month plan? How long is it going to take, you think, to build this thing out?
Yeah, we'll have our basic development, production, and distribution applications all out and operational by the end of 2018. And then after that is a number of supporting applications. One of the most important ones that we're working on, but it's also one of the most difficult, is the entire union interface. It's integrating residuals and deals with the unions onto the blockchain, and that takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of education to
a lot of
develop,
education too. So as long as we keep moving forward, little by little, it'll come together. So we do have a 6-month plan, a 1-year, 2-year, 5-year plan. And to us, it feels like 1994, 95 of the internet in blockchain terms. So I think within the next 5 years, we're really going to actually start viscerally feeling that there's blockchain technology out there. And I don't think we'll see huge transformations in the way our life works probably for about 15 years. So.
In terms of, so now you have somebody who comes to you, they produce a show, they broadcast it, they distribute it on your app. How do people pay money to see it, and what kind of money do they need to pay to see it? From the audience perspective, how does this work? Do I need to have Bitcoins? Do I need to now have a digital wallet? Am I seeing ads? How does all that work?
Okay. Yeah, we think it's really important on the audience side, the consumer side, to make it as easy and convenient as possible. So they can pay with anything and everything they like, from Alipay and WeChat in China to credit cards and PayPal here. I think that really the most important thing is that users and audience start to adopt this, because they are really the fuel for the entire engine that we're building.
So no ads?
No ads. No ads.
Yeah.
All of the economic models that we put together, all the applications, advertising will be a thing of the past on SingularDTV.
Do you have a sense yet? And again, a lot of this I kind of translate back into my experience as a media person. And a problem we have with digital is that, we're still trying to do ad-based production, and you're not going to make the money online. I mean, we're just not going to do it, right? So we are kind of hamstrung in that we're still reliant on advertising. But do you know, if you're going to run adless programs, if you have this new business model, do you have a sense of how much revenue there might be out there? I mean, look, top shows, Walking Dead, NFL, we know how much money these guys make. Do you have a sense of how much money?
You know how much money the distributors make.
Well, right. Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation.
Right. Actually, there are a couple of lawsuits around The Walking Dead. We might find out how much they make.
That's exactly
right. So, But do you have a sense for people who are producing these new programs, do you have a sense of how much money there might be for them? I mean, can you make a living doing this? There are a lot of people who have a lot of hits on YouTube who make no money. Do you have a sense of how much money can actually be? And not to be greedy, but just artists need to live and eat. So, I mean, do you have a sense of how much money there is in this?
A lot of this is theoretical because we're putting it to the test in 2018, but I'll use one of our television shows as an example. Because as part of our original content production, we're funding several different projects and a few different television shows just to prove that a tokenized ecosystem can actually recoup the budget of season 1 before it's distributed, and also that the tokens in its reserve can be liquidated to produce subsequent seasons, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And in one of the examples, which is actually going to be probably made public next week or after Thanksgiving, is that, we're launching a $60 million tokenized ecosystem for this one television series. And we have to prove that it can bear it.
Okay, what does a $60 million tokenized ecosystem for a show mean?
Well, it basically means that you can create a reserve of tokens, and those tokens that are not in the reserve go to the creation of the content and to the creatives and the producers. And it's with a bit into a marketing budget. And now it's up to the producers and creatives to create something that is engaging enough to really build an enthusiastic fan base and audience around. And so it's really all about capturing them so that your reserve is worth something. So a lot of course, it really comes down to a lot of marketing and good original content.
Also, I should say that, production world, they need fiat, right? They need USD or they need euros or whatever, wherever you're making it. So when you raise the funds through your tokenized ecosystem, you can then, that's fungible, right? So you can then turn that into whatever fiat you need in order to actually produce it. And ideally, right now, because we're in the legacy world still, we're building bridges between the legacy world and between the decentralized world so that you can operate in both places. And so right now you'd take that and you'd go produce it, and then it goes back into the system. But it has to come back into the system in order for it to continue to work and thrive and build its value.
Let's, we've taken up a lot of time, but we want to take questions. Yeah, so let's do a Q&A. I think there's a microphone floating around here somewhere, so let's open it up to the floor.
Greetings, thank you. I understand from the production distribution angle what you're attempting to do. And I'm no great fan of the oversaturation of advertising, but we do have a signal-to-noise problem right now with the myriad of content that currently exists. So we have a Netflix with, I don't know, $6 billion a year in budget. I presume you're going to use advertising to draw eyeballs to this new platform to be aware of your content.
Well, I would say it's marketing. Just saying, yes, just SingularDTV. There'll be SingularDTV marketing, which any shows that are part of that Ethervision will obviously benefit from. And then depending on what type of show it is and what type of audience, they're going to want to participate in their own type of marketing campaign. And the cool thing is their audience, their token holders, are going to participate in that too.
Do you expect that you'll be at upfronts next year? Or do you think of that as a passé thing?
It's, we're sort of doing our own thing. Upfronts are kind of coming to us, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people coming to us right now, and we're about a staff of about 60 right now. We're growing, and we're humbled by the amazing talent that's coming to us. And like Zach had mentioned, it's very early in blockchain and in what the capabilities are. So we're not selling ourselves right now. We are building something, and again, humbled that amazing talent and interests are coming our direction to want to participate because they realize this is the future and they want to thrive. So maybe in the future, a few years from now, we might check out upfronts if they're still around.
Just to add something about the advertising, though. I don't think that we should look at it as a negative thing. I see it as a tool. So SingularDTV doesn't have any philosophical, we're not philosophically against using any tool to promote ourselves and to ignite a sustainable entertainment economy. So I think that's the #1 most important thing, to ignite a sustainable, decentralized entertainment economy. And if advertising helps us get there, getting the word out to get users, I think that would probably be a wise thing to do as well. So.
Of course, the best advertising is always a good show.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's got to be good quality stuff that people want to watch.
And also, I think the network effect is really important too. So would we get, artists on the platform like Gramatik or get really cool television shows, they'll do their own social media campaigns and bring their own fans and following in too, which helps to bring users and eyeballs. So.
I know there's more questions, without a doubt.
Hi there, I'm Simon Applebaum with Tomorrow We Televise, the program about television on Blog Talk Radio and now on iHeartRadio's podcast network. Zach and Kim were on our show yesterday, and one thing we didn't get into was how you are relating what you're doing to the overall television environment that Bruce was mentioning beforehand. Because we're now in an environment where 60% of U.S. households have smart TV sets and smart TV devices where they can do everything from watch Netflix. And with the help of artificial intelligence like Siri and Alexa built into the said device, they can actually order an Uber ride or pizza from Papa John's, or even do interactive storytelling. The Steven Soderbergh Mosaic project with HBO, if you have Apple TV, you can now design and develop a 6-7 hour miniseries using that product. So how are you relating what you're doing to this overall new paradigm, if you will, of TV? And one other thing, because you mentioned, we didn't get to this yesterday, that the program is going to be advertiser free. If a Procter & Gamble, if a Chipotle, if an advertiser who, let's say, has a talent they would like to develop a TV series with, would you encourage them to use your system?
Please.
A lot of questions in there, Simon. Nice to meet you in person.
I think Chipotle had a really good idea. I mean,
maybe.
I don't know, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, right? And who wants to come to the table, and for what reasons. So I think the advertising thing is sort of to be determined, but I also would love to see it redefined, and I'd love to see it relabeled, because I think advertising has a bad name. In lots of different paradigms. So I would love to see someone come along and redefine what advertising could be and what it could mean to all of us, right? Because all of us sitting in the room, we're content creators, but we're also consumers, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't really care. I haven't watched network TV in 15, 20 years. I used to work for network TV, and I left the belly of the beast, and I never looked back, and I don't even have network TV. So when the Hulus of the world came along, I was like, oh, nice, thanks. There's still some ads here and there, but I don't prefer to engage in that. So that's the advertising thing. What you started out for the first question was...
I don't think he needs the microphone, frankly.
Yeah. But anyway, well, we're in this environment now, which everyone in this room should really pay attention to. We're in this environment where, thanks to smart TVs and smart devices and the capabilities and capacity they have, you can now do everything from order merchandise to watch a Netflix, a Hulu, Amazon, to now the possibility of actually creating your own program and do it the way you want. And do it in multiple ways, the sort of choose your own adventure kind of format, which is what Steven Soderbergh is trying to do now with Mosaic, where you can develop your own show and do it in so many different directions that some person can watch it this way and some person can see a totally different show. Interactive storytelling.
Yeah, there's a lot of emergent activity here that we're discovering. I think regarding to the blockchain and using interactive television experiences, I think there's a lot of other basics that we have to actually build up to first, I think. But when it comes down to the other part of your question about, if Chipotle and other advertisers or large companies want to come on, ultimately the entire point of a decentralized entertainment industry is that it's permissionless, that anyone can come and express and use the applications and put their content out there for the world. So when what we're building does go permissionless, I think whoever is inspired to use it, there's nothing we can do to alter that, censor it, stop it, or control it. So.
Hi.
I know the millennials don't really want advertising or to watch anything, and they find ways around a lot of this stuff. Is there a way to protect content that's put up there to make sure it is rewarded with a monetary, if you put up content, how do you prevent somebody from, when it's all over the place, from like putting that somewhere where people can see it for free?
Yeah, pirating it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that there's really nothing you can do to stop piracy. I think there's a number of things that you can do to actually minimize piracy, and one of those things I think is making the content as convenient to access as possible.
You can just.
I'm sure you can hear me.
Yeah.
I just go back to the Matthew Weiner question, because I get the part about distribution, I get the part about marketing. The part I don't understand is if I'm Matthew Weiner and I want to do this show, I need $5 million to do a pilot, and then I need $25 million to make the first 12 episodes. Where does that money come from? How do I get that?
Well, in our case, we were very fortunate, for example, to raise 580,000 Ether when the price of Ether was at about $10. It's over 300 now. So if he would have come to us, if Mad Men were just starting now, we would do one of two things. We'd fund it ourselves, or we would show him how to use the technology, and then it would be up to him to market it and make sure it gets funded on his own behalf.
You go, Kim.
Well, I mean, could you talk a little bit more about the tokenized ecosystems in terms of if you're raising 25 million, you only need
Right.
5 million, like, the sort of the
I think
that structure?
an easy way to kind of think about this is essentially like when Zach said a $60 million tokenized ecosystem, essentially what you're talking about is a pre-sale. You're offering people a chance to kind of buy in before it gets produced. So if you're somebody who has an idea for a show, you're basically marketing it before you start making it. And you're saying, I have this idea, this is the show I want to make. If you give me money now, which is what a token sale is, I will then have the money to produce the show, and then as it goes on, because you bought that token and you hold on to it, it's really just it's a digitized asset, you will have a chance to participate in the profits of it. So the money would come from somebody having a good idea who puts it out in the world, and people want to buy it and see it, and they help fund it. It's in a way, it's kind of like crowdfunding. That's one way to look at it.
My question about that is, I get David Bowie, who's got a reputation and a catalog, can monetize himself. But the way the system works now, if you're Matthew Weiner and you've made Mad Men, you can go to a studio, they'll pay for it. I'm sure they can go into your ecosystem and get it crowdfunded. The question is how does somebody that's not Matthew Weiner, or Matthew Weiner before he was Matthew Weiner, get his first show? I mean, the studios or the networks will listen to the pitch, he'll go through a process, and he'll sell his first thing, get it made. But in this ecosystem, I'm hard-pressed to see how somebody who doesn't have that track record, who's other than you, who basically replaces the studio and says, I'll take a bet on this guy or this guy because it's a good idea, how do they get into the business? How do they get inside?
We're starting to see people wanting to start things like film funds or funds to say, okay, it's a collective and let's get some proposals in and see what we want to take bets on. So it's similar to how it works now, only it's tokenized ecosystems instead of capital that comes from other places.
It's going to be.
Excuse me, what do they take in exchange for making a bet on that? I mean, that's.
They'll probably take a percentage of the tokens. They might fund a little bit of the tokens. Like, so let's say there's a $30 million fund, and they're going to give you 5 of it. They'll probably take a portion of those tokens as a revenue potential. Yeah.
So it's like the studio system, except it's transparent. There's not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And the IP is trackable forever. Yeah. Right. Which is so much more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging for newcomers for sure, but the positive thing is they're empowered with at least the tools to manage and control their own IP and their rights, and that's, I think, a significant more incentive for audience to
and technology creates new competition. I mean, I had once talked to Steve Tyler from Aerosmith, and I had asked him a question about technology. I said, do you think you guys would have an easier time making it today than when you started out in the 70s? Expecting him to say, yeah, because we could just put our videos on YouTube. And he said, no. He said it'd be harder now. He said in the 70s, the only bands that could make it were the bands that were willing to do the club scene and were willing to put in the work and the miles and the nights. He said, now there's a kid in Iowa who can put a video up on YouTube and compete with me. So in some ways, for content creators, this is going to be more challenging because now you are competing with everybody. You don't just have to go to New York or Hollywood.
No, I mean, cream is going to rise to the top. You still have to have quality. You still,
Right.
you know, that's not going to go away. You know, if you're putting out something that nobody's responding to, then you're getting a direct response to that, right? So
A very direct response.
yeah, very
right?
direct response.
We definitely have some more questions. Hey, if you guys wanted to just, if you have a good voice, you know, there's a small room.
This gentleman in the back.
Can I just ask a question how you're hedging your cryptocurrency? I mean, you've got your $60 million. 6 months from now, it could be $3 million.
It could. It could. And
So,
then,
so how does the content creator protect themselves when they're entering into contracts to pay people and distribute and market and all of that?
yeah, we have a process for the artists who don't want to take the Ethereum ride to turn it into US dollars, euros.
So you can do it, I mean, but you said you have to keep a certain amount in reserve.
Well, a certain amount of tokens in reserve.
But those tokens will either appreciate or depreciate.
Yes, there's a volatility to them for sure. There's some interesting research and development going on right now with stable coins and stable tokens, which are probably about a year away. So that'll give us a bit more security, I think.
Gentleman in the back corner, and then we'll go to you. And then you.
I'm Matthew Weiner, but I'm a VC firm or an angel investor.
Yeah.
What is your, without giving away the secrets, what's your economic model from SingularDTV's point of view?
Well, SingularDTV, we're powered by the Singles token. We've launched our own token called the Singles token, and basically what we've done is that we embed our token with all of our intellectual property and the rights and revenue flow, the same thing that we're doing for the artists. Because we're launching 17 different applications, all the fees, whether they're flat fees or percent transactions, a number of those things, those are all embedded in the Singles token. So when revenue comes in, the Singles token holder receives that revenue to either withdraw immediately or to store. So our business model basically is really to spin out as many tokenized ecosystems that represent intellectual property as possible.
And so as a rights holder, one would know what's being taken out?
As far as the revenue coming in, yes, that's transparent on the blockchain. So we have to cycle that into one of the applications we have is actually called BlockKeeper, and it's a blockchain-based accounting application. So anyone has access to see what we're up to. It's a little bit more difficult when we actually turn the tokens of the Ether into US dollars, and that's another thing completely. So,
Young lady in the, sort of towards the back. Yeah, you.
Thank you. Thank you. So my question is regarding with innovation also comes inequality, as well as I'm glad that you mentioned unions. How do you plan to negate and make processes to make sure that equality does happen? Both on the fact that sometimes, yes, the cream does rise to the crop, but sometimes that cream is not necessarily great content. And then we have great content that is like moonlight, but it's would be considered like a really independent product of content. And then also the fact that with innovation sometimes comes predatory labor processes and activities. So how do you, what are you looking at in your technology roadmap to make sure that those things do not occur?
Well, it starts with education, right? So, you know, everyone needs to learn what blockchain is. Right now, the basic demographic of cryptocurrency people are about 96% of young men, probably young white men. As a woman filmmaker whose career has been making films of diversity genre, it's quite disappointing. what that means is we have to educate all the different diverse voices out there about what blockchain and cryptocurrency can bring, so that there is an equal participation. Right now, and technology is sort of a thing that obviously that's the genre and the demographic for this technology, and I think that's sort of been historic, right? So individuals have to also be open to participating, because this is, again, I believe, the people's technology. So it starts with education. I mean, I'm a PGA member. I'm joining the diversity committee, and one of my partners has been very active, and we have an initiative to start teaching people about blockchain. So right now, as it stands, it's about educating everyone about the possibilities and getting people to get involved. And everyone in this room right now, I encourage you to go get a wallet and get some ETH and buy some cryptocurrency and start figuring out what that means to in your world, and diving in and coming down the rabbit hole, as you said, Paul. So it's not an easy answer. It's hard for me because there are very few women in this tech space doing, and interested and involved. So, we have an internal initiative to start speaking to more women, speaking to more, we have people in China, we have people in South America, we have people in Puerto Rico. We have an amplifying team, and it's all about educating right now so that we can get diverse voices, because it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary.
Gentlemen.
Yes, do you get involved with humanitarian causes? Because I've been with an organization, we're Artists for Earth, Humanity, and Global Goodwill, and we have an ultimate goal of launching the Ship of Humanity. And we want to have this vessel just loaded with, in a celebration of diverse cultures through music and art and theater and dance, and take culture on world tour. We tested it on the Queen Mary and completely sold out. And so we were able to pay for everything, but now we want to take it to the next level, and we want to make a really big deal about it, because we want to bring together all good people on this earth instead of all the bad people that are getting all the press.
Yeah, the bad actors, right? Yeah. Well, when we launched Tokit last week, we launched a bunch of artists, some filmmakers and some musicians, but we also launched 2 nonprofit organizations. One is called ACE, Project for the Homeless, which is a New York organization that's been around for 20 years, and it helps bring homeless people back into the workforce. And then the other one is Dancing Classrooms, which has been around for about 25 years, and they bring social dance to 5th and 8th grade children in public school systems around the world. And they have had about 3 different films. Maybe you guys are familiar with Mad Hot Ballroom. That was about dancing classrooms. And so, and Liga de Artistas is the one we launched as well, which is a collective fund for artists of Puerto Rico. So they can submit their applications and be considered for funding through Liga de Artistas. And those are tokenized ecosystems where it's just about charity. It's just like you can anywhere else, right? It's just about, I love this cause and I want to participate and be a token holder and be a patron of this particular nonprofit. I think one of the pain points for nonprofits is that they constantly have to every quarter prove their message all over again, and it's just such a process, and they're starting from square one all the time. So our hope is this doesn't have to, that cycle can end, and their worth of their token sort of speaks for itself, right? And what they're able to do with those funds speaks for itself, and it just sort of intrinsically grows. But the answer is yes, there is an opportunity for that for sure.
It would, just along the lines of what you said, it would be wonderful if we had constant money coming in. For example, we had a huge mansion, big estate donated to us to use, which we had for 2 years, and we thought, well, what will we do with it? As a nonprofit, we never turned down anything. So we turned it into the first international cultural embassy. So we hosted cultural ambassadors from all over the world. Like Maestro Ling Tong from China, the prima ballerina of the Met, and we had her dancing underneath basketball hoops in elementary schools, and it was very interesting.
I hope you shot that.
We have photos, we have stills of it, but it's very interesting. She came to me after we put her on tour of the elementary schools. She says, I've danced on the stage in front of presidents and kings and queens, The one week that I danced in front of all these children underneath basketball hoops was the most rewarding week in my life. And so that's what we are about. It would be wonderful if something like what you have would keep our funding constantly coming in, because we have to raise money for this project and we'll spend it all for that project, then we're at square one again.
Tokenize anything, tokenize everything.
Yeah, we can
Token.io.
definitely help guide you through the process.
Yes, of
so
course.
Let's
Any,
let's get in touch after this.
So I think we're running a little
Yes.
low on time here, so.
From a practical standpoint, when revenue comes in, you convert it to Bitcoin as blockchain, the currency you're using. But then when the content creator needs to pay bills, it needs to be reconverted to hard currency.
Correct.
Is the system, is the method organized to always go through a blockchain intermediate? So there are two currency conversions, and isn't that inherently risky and inefficient from a financial management standpoint?
Yes. Yes. No, there's definitely a number of challenges with the infrastructure because it's so young, it's so new. And one of the things that we are doing, SingularDTV, is we are trying to make that as seamless and fluid as possible. So we will be launching our own banking
along those lines,
network.
Part B, is the content creator constrained with regard to the distribution and revenue generating channels they can select? Theatrical release, standard television, video on demand, or does everything go?
That sort of functionality is not going to be around until probably 2018, late 2018, 2019, because we have not, the bridges between those service providers and distributors that actually buy content and exchange it in fiat currency, those bridges have not been built yet to cycle that onto the blockchain.
What if the content creator has those capabilities, has the contracts already with the television networks in country A and B and C, and has the contracts with the theater managers of key theaters for theatrical presentation in a variety of countries? What if they dominate that already?
Okay, well, then they would be in a strategic position to be able to use blockchain technology to their efficiency and advantage, definitely. And 2018, we are coming out with a ticketing application for the theaters as well, where you can use cryptocurrency and tokens, coins, to buy tickets and go to the theater as well.
All right. One more. Do one more. It's got to be quick, though.
Do you have any control over the content which is put on the blockchain? Because, for example, if I was an evil person, I would put a psychological manipulation on, you know, and make people watch my video. No, it can happen. You see, I'm coming from the public TV, and in a goodwill, you know, we get a lot of crap.
We get that anyway all day long, right? I mean,
we are much more open than on the commercial TV.
Yeah.
And because we need to be more open. So how would you deal with this? Because this is kind of the same, I would say, psychological way of watching it. The blockchain is the same as the public TV, at least in Europe. I come from Europe, of course. So how would you control it? Because, you know, you can really get racist stuff, you can get nationalistic stuff, you can get manipulation. It's really nicely done, perfectly done. But then in the small things, you know, relationship between people, you get really horrible stories.
You know, I think the answer to that in the blockchain world is the answer to that in every other world, which is education. I mean, really, it is. I mean, people are always going to be trying to force propaganda on you, and they're always going to be trying to tell you lies. The best way to do it is to educate your people.
But you have
That's my feeling.
Sorry, but you have an editor on, for example, public TV, who goes through it and really watches it and then said, you know, we won't air that. And if sometimes it happens that the editor is bad and it goes through. But, you know, here you don't have any editor, you know, it just goes in. So it's kind of, sorry, you know.
yeah.
I'm
No, it's a new world.
But,
It's a new paradigm. I mean, certainly.
I come from the war zone, so I know what the evil is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. Actually, we do have to wrap it up. I think these guys are going to be around all weekend, so I mean, you know, if you run into them somewhere, you'll certainly be able to. And if you have questions, just go to their website. And I would like to say just one other thing. You know, I'd mentioned at the beginning some core concepts, and seeing as we're in New York, but we're at the International Emmys, I think a really important core concept of blockchain technology is that it erases borders, and it allows anything that can be digitized to be moved anywhere around the world in virtually real time. That is an extremely powerful concept, and I encourage you all to experiment with it. Thank you for coming out today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.